Welcome to Own It, the podcast where we talk to real estate thought leaders about embracing your strengths, taking your career to new heights, and owning your future. I'm Hillary Saunders, co-founder and chief broker officer at Side, and welcomed today with my handsome co-host, Spencer Kroll.
Thank you. I would have settled for esteemed or not disgusting. Either one of those works for me, but nice to see you, Hillary.
Nice to see you as well. Welcome to Own It. Dexter and Jose, I'm so excited to chat with you guys.
We're excited. Thank you
for having us.
Absolutely.
Where do I even start? So Chez Realty is the 10th largest by volume company in Florida, third largest medium-sized team in Miami, and they've done this all in the last year. So I can't get over this, you guys. This is going to be an amazing podcast. I can't wait to dive into it. Jose was just on the board of NAREP, and both of you have this entrepreneurial spirit that you were at a brokerage before. You've come together, created this baby, and it's just blown up. So let's get the first big question out of the way, which is for caffeine. What is your go-to? Because I know you and Spencer have a little bit in common there.
Yeah, so we're from Miami. So if you've ever been to Miami, we're kind of famous for our cafecito, which AKA cola, which is pretty much an espresso, but it's kind of like the sugars already like kind of mixed into the coffee. It's not like an espresso that the sugar is kind of like laying at the bottom of the.
Yeah, it's more like a syrup. I would say it's like a syrup, right? Like a caffeine syrup, right? Like that would be like the analogy there.
Yeah, and then if you want to throw an analogy, it's like a Cuban Red Bull. So
Cuban Red Bull. Yeah, if you're a true Miamian, it's like café cubano. Like that's what you want to have. Un cafecito. You order it in a ventanita, and you pull up, and and it's a social event. You have your crackers, your croquettes, your coffee, your talking politics. Like that's the vibe.
That was a very gringo way of saying croquetas.
So by 1 o'clock in your guys' office, the caffeine is flowing.
You're definitely smelling the coffee. Whether it be me or Jose or one of the agents. And it's funny, whenever someone makes coffee, we're always like critiquing, how they made the coffee, like 1 to 10. So there's like a little friendly competition on who makes the best coladas here in the office. So.
I love it. Yeah. Well, let's dive in. So Chez Realty is only about a year-ish old, right? And right, you guys and your team has just grown and crushed numbers like crazy. So how did you guys come up with the idea to join forces? Because you guys were powerhouses beforehand.
So we worked at another brokerage together, and we were like office roommates. Like we had this shared wall that had this gap like between like complete privacy and like not, right? So we were already kind of critiquing each other, like from the other, it's like the other guy on the other side of the wall, right? We're like, hey man, I would have said this better and I would have said that better. And so automatically we just took a liking to like, just helping each other out in our own individual businesses, So like we are definitely like a racehorse with our blinders on. We don't look left, we don't look right. And we just strive to be a better version of ourselves. Like that's our competition. Like, how can we be better than we were last year, right? And now, a year from now, how do we be better than we were this time next year, right? And so that's really like our competition. Now, don't get me wrong, guys. There's like plenty of brokers, right? Like that we know they're doing amazing things, and kudos to them, right? But like we're doing us,
And we don't get fixated on other people's numbers and other people's credentials. Granted, it's good to have competition. It's good to look at those things, but at the end of the day, we're just trying to better ourselves, better our team, better people around us, and have fun doing it.
So give us a lay of the land of your company. How many agents do you have? How many did you start out with? What was your kind of idea to either add or subtract or grow? What did that look like?
So with me and Jose, we're about 14 total agents. When we joined forces, me and Jose did kind of start our own teams at our other brokerage. And when we started this brokerage, we did start with a couple of agents. I think when we started it, we had about 5 or 6 agents. And in the past year, we've grown it, we've pretty much a little over doubled our agent count. And at the end of the day, it's just, we wanted to do this to build our own culture, right? and when we started this, we really talked about who we wanted to hire, and we didn't want to grow too fast. We wanted to make sure that we're growing to make sure all the agents that we are onboarding, that we have enough to feed them, and we're making them successful agents. It's not just about, having 20, 30, 50, 100 agents, but just agents that we do have, making sure that they get our full support and making sure that we can make them succeed.
Are they all experienced already, or do you bring in new agents as well?
Actually, yeah. I mean, they all come from different sides of life. I mean, personally, we like new agents. Like, we'll train you. Like, we don't want like bad habits. Like, we want to like get you from like fresh out of like real estate school. We're gonna teach you systems, processes, follow up, scripts. We're gonna take you from A to Z. And from and this is kind of like one of our value prop, like from a very boots on the ground approach. Like, we're doing this as well. Like, we're also running a company, but we're very much in production. And so like when we're teaching agents, we're teaching them from like, this is what I did last week, not like 5-10 years ago when, I got my broker's license or whatever it is, that's how we look at it.
Yeah. And we tell our agents that we're in the trenches with you guys, right? We're understanding when we need to adapt and pivot. Just a perfect example, what happened, a couple of years ago, we all had to pivot and adapt, right? And understanding that creative clauses and things that we have to do, whether it be scheduling appointments and showings, writing up offers, but we were there doing it with the agents. So it helps us to adapt and pivot, and not only us, but our agents as well, because we see it in real time.
There seems to be two schools of thought, right? When you create your brokerage, which is either I'm going to train brand new agents and train them, my way or whatever my philosophy is. And then there's the other school of thought, which is I'm only going to get seasoned agents because I don't want to spend my time teaching them, right? So when you guys decided to go the first route, what made you make that decision? Because that kind of takes a trajectory where your company goes.
With partnering with Side, it helped us kind of find our agent avatar, right? And we really, really honed down on that agent avatar. And from trial and error of hiring a couple of agents, we understood that the new agent, or at least the agent that's 1 to 3 years in the business that haven't actually had that breakthrough, is kind of like our agent avatar, because we have the systems and processes in place to really help an agent grow and take their business to the next level.
Spencer, I wonder what your avatar would look like if we created an avatar.
Oh, man, that's a whole. There's a whole probably 2 episodes there, and we'll bring in my psychiatrist to help with that.
That's funny.
I got a question, because partnerships really amaze me, and you guys partnered together. You must have seen some value where you said, I don't do this well and you do that well, or at least this could make me better. What are those qualities that you see with each other?
Well, I experienced that like firsthand. So like Dexter's been gone, I don't know, we went to Ibiza,
Cannes,
Marseille,
Portugal.
Okay, so this guy's been around the world for the last 2.5, 3 weeks, right? And I've been here holding it down. And I've been like, my hair is pretty like spot on, but it's been like everywhere, because what he does so well, and I tell this to him all the time, is the systems, like how like precise he is with every stage of the process from a system perspective. In addition to sales, like he's a great salesman, but like one of his strong suits is systems. And for me, I'm more of a PR guy. Like, I can do this all day if you guys wanted me to, right? Like, I'll get on here and talk to people and, attract, and I'm more the PR guy, sales guy. And so when we automatically got together, like I already knew, like I can't do that. Like if I had to do the systems all day long, or even think of doing it part of the day, I'd just be bogged down. I'd be miserable. So like automatically I felt that was a total marriage there. And in addition to that, it's like we're very like water, like everything just kind of flows with us. It's not like, hey man, like, oh man, it's cool. Like, let's just figure this out, like water, like it's sometimes it's gonna like hit against, something or whatnot, but it's water, right? It adapts, it moves, and we move with it. So that's one of the things that I love about the partnership, though. To
kind of add on to that, like I'm more tech and systems oriented. People wouldn't believe me, but I am like a geek when it comes down to that. I love putting, action plans, systems, cross-referencing certain systems to work together and really building out systems for our agents to not only make their life easier, but our life easier, to make sure all our leads are getting hit on correctly and at the right times, and we're not leaving no leads falling under the cracks, and making sure that, all our tech stacks are working together.
Dexter, how did you decide, or did you decide on a communication strategy between you? Because one thing that, and Spencer can probably back me up, is what we've seen in the industry when people say worked independently before or worked in other industries before, and then they came together as a partnership. Sometimes the style of communication is different and it can lead to friction. How did you guys decide to actively communicate? Because I know that you all are very open and discuss everything, and if you don't agree on something, you work out the trajectory. But how did you guys tackle that to start with?
And this says it on an operating agreement that when we don't agree on something, we're both going to get a coin. We're going to pick either tails or heads. We're going to flip it, and whatever it lands on, that's what we're going to do, right? And that's how we figure that out. But we put a clause that in 3 months we're going to revisit that decision. And we're gonna look at whether it be the ROI or just kind of the value prop on that decision, and then take another vote on it and understand, seeing if it worked or it didn't work. So that's actually an operating agreement.
Yeah,
we haven't done it yet, but that's an operating agreement if we don't agree on something.
Now, do you guys have a special coin under a glass you open up?
Not yet, because we haven't done it. But maybe in the future, if we'll probably get one.
It helps that our wives get along too. All right, that's a big component to this too. We're friends, far before helping each other in our businesses. We're friends. So, we go to dinner and we drink wine and we have a good time. So, it's been very fluid. It's been very cool. But the operating agreement, when I think I told someone else about this, and she's an attorney. And she's like, well, I want to see, and Hillary, I know you're an attorney. I want to see the operating agreement. I want to see how you wrote that. And I'm like, you're going to tear it apart. No, it's all good. It just know that it's in there,
I'm going to say that you're so smart for having an operating agreement. Let's start there. Gold star, big heart to you, because that is very smart. Whatever the decision is, it's fine.
Yeah, how often do we not see that? Yeah, which I think is, a part of that saying of failing to plan is planning to fail, right? And I think that having the operating agreement is really important, because this is how you guys are going to operate with each other. So I have an entrepreneurial question for you. All right, so you guys, when you were independent, you were agents, but at another brokerage. People always say, yes, as an agent, you run your own business, which is true. Now you are running your own brokerage, right? You're running your own business that way. How has that? Have you found a shift in the way that you approach entrepreneurship in that sense?
Yeah, I mean, for this, it was just there's another variation, right? Now it's about the logo, right? The logo and what it means, and how we want to bring listings to the market, and how we want our marketing to look like, and our brand, and being aware of that. I think that what happens with agents when they're under a brokerage, they're already operating under somebody else's vision, right? The cool thing about this was, this is our vision, and this is the first time ever that we get to explore and play with the vision, truly, from this is real, right? So I think that when you operate as a team under a brokerage, there's nothing wrong with that. But that brokerage already has a set of guidelines, colors, feel, community. This is for the first time, ours, so that's pretty cool.
And it comes with us within the years, understanding and building our own value proposition. And really, when we did this, really asking ourselves, can we really help other agents and other people, right? And once you know that you have that value proposition that you can give an agent, that I can really take your business to the next level, and you actually know that because you did it for yourself. I think, too many people rush into, trying to do this or being a team leader or being a broker without actually going through the proper elements to get there,
in what you were just talking about, which is you can create your own culture, your own story when you're going to a listing agreement to say, this is the Chez Realty experience. This is what we are bringing to you, and this is how we are different from, brokerage A, B, or C. So what is the culture of Chez Realty, and what is the experience that you are telling your clients that you are bringing, and how you're different?
So Chez is actually Chez. And Chez is a
Okay,
French.
well, I am wrong.
No. We say Chez.
No, we say Chez.
But it's a
we
French.
recognized it.
Yeah, it's a French word, and what it means is like to be at home. And so we definitely relay that to the customer, and we definitely relay that to our team, which is be right at home. Like there's no better feeling than being at home, right? And so what our vision and the way that we communicate and the way that we make our agents feel is at home, so, and that's why, like to Dexter's point, we didn't ever want to be like ultra mega, right? We just wanted to be us and have that homey feeling.
You mentioned something earlier in promotional video that you did, and I think, Jose, you were the one that was telling the story that you moved around a lot when you were a kid. And you didn't have that anchor. I was really touched by that because so many people get into this business just to make money, and you seem to have an operating philosophy of why you're doing this.
Absolutely. As a kid, and this may sound scripted, but truly it isn't. As a kid, my mother had to move a lot. And she was a single mom. There was 3 of us. I was the oldest. So I had a lot of memories. That time of my life. And it was tough, not because we were moving. It was tough because I had to move from different school districts. And it was because my mother wasn't a homeowner. She was a tenant. She was, she couldn't afford home ownership. And so it's a gift and a curse for me because what it did was I went to like 5 or 6 different elementary schools, right? I went to like 3 or 4 different middle schools. I ended up at one, high school. And I have friends from all different walks of life. And it also allowed me, like looking at the bright side of things, it also allowed me to walk into a room and make friendships very easily because I had to adapt. But I look at friends like Dexter and I see he has friends from like kindergarten, and I see how much more connection you have when you are a homeowner, or you don't have to move from time to time, and how you build these roots in your community. And these roots end up being colleagues and friends and referral partners at some point or another. But so I had to move a lot, and that like truly impacted who I am today, for better or for worse. So when I got into real estate and I helped the first family, that was really cool. That was really cool for me because now I really saw myself there, that now that person's not going to have to move around, and they're not going to have to go from place to place, and their rent is not going to get increased, So it was truly a touching experience for me, one that I didn't anticipate, but when I felt it, like I was just drawn to it, and I said, "This is my calling."
Yeah, and I think with your involvement with NAREP also, and bringing home ownership to the Latino community as one of your guys' missions, not just first-time homeowners, but educating people and saying that this is a path forward to building generational wealth and establishing roots. How do you, as a team or as a company, teach your agents, your team, how to educate the community on building up their generational wealth? Because I know that's important to you both.
I think it starts with the agent. Like we want to know so one thing is us helping as many clients as possible, but like in the process, we can't forget about ourselves, right? Like who in the team is not a homeowner, and how do we get them to become a homeowner? I think that's just equally as important, because if you're a real estate agent that's selling homes, like you also need to be a consumer at some point to understand that.
And also for them to find their why, why are they really doing this, and why, are they helping people find that home, or for whatever the case. But you have to just kind of dig deep internally, and we kind of try to do exercise it with our agents. So this is not just a transactional thing that we're just selling a lot of homes, but we're we're finding out why we're doing this, right?
Do you, I know you said something about people not trusting, like you have to build up a lot of trust because this is an area that people really don't understand necessarily the ins and outs of buying a property. So do you stay with them? Like they might buy a home and then do you talk with them after that about, well, now maybe you can buy a second home or you can buy an investment property?
That's where the systems come into play, I think. I mean, that's one of the things that we love. Like, it's nearly impossible. I mean, we've done hundreds of transactions, if not thousands of transactions. It's very tough to put a finger on every single one of them and remember, hey, you know, they bought their home 5 years ago, but with the systems and processes that we have, you know, specifically with follow-up boss and the tasks and all the, you know, things that we do, you know, we can dial in and ask like, hey guys, like, do you realize that your home is worth $300,000 more today than it was 6 years ago? And like, you may want to start thinking of this, right? We tell our clients, like, we become friends. Like, I closed on Monday, was it Monday? Somebody that bought a home from Kansas City, like remotely. I met him for the first time on Friday, and he's like, Jose, you're my family, man. Like, the fact that like I was able to trust you and you were able to push this through, and we went through a lot of turmoil in the transaction. And he's like, here's a copy of the keys. Like, use the apartment whenever you like. And I'm like, whoa, take it easy, you know? Like, no, I don't need that, you know? But the point of the story is like, it starts with that building trust. We're in a part of the United States where there's a big difference in culture. At least we feel that way, right? There's a lot of immigrants, you know, here in Miami, and generally immigrants are like, they're like, oh no, why are you doing this, or how come? And that's too good to be true. And so there's certainly a layer, like a barrier there that we need to break and overcome on each and every one of the transactions. It does help that we are two immigrants, but yeah, I mean, we're definitely doing it one transaction at a time. Like, you know, we're not going to change the world here, but you know, we're at least putting our grain in the sand, you know?
Yeah. Dexter, you get all the accolades, I guess, for setting up systems and being kind of a bit of a geek around the OCD nature of checklists and things like that.
Yeah.
Where did that skill set come from?
So I've always been a little systems driven, but honestly, during the pandemic, I mean, there was, you know, not much to do. And every day I gave myself 2 or 3 webinars to go on and learn and this, and I just caught myself on multiple webinars, and it just kind of was like kind of addicting. And then that was a time where, you know, I didn't really have that many transactions happening. So I got to hone in on my systems and my process. You know, I was kind of, I mean, I wasn't saying put at home, but honestly, me and him, we went to the office almost every day during the pandemic.
Can we say that? Like, can we say that? Wasn't that like illegal?
It's in the past. Let's not worry about it.
You know, we would go to the office every single day, almost every single day. I would leave my house and go to work, you know? It wasn't not to show properties or do this, but it was to like perfect my systems. And that was the time that I used to perfect my systems. I sat there and I wrote 12-month email campaigns. I wrote text messages within the email campaigns. I created action plans for like my closed renters to like send them emails and texts throughout the transaction.
Okay, so, you're geeking out. Now you're geeking
No,
out.
I'm loving this. This is great.
So, and then now thankfully it helped us kind of pivot to this, you know, now with all our agents and helping us now in our business.
Meanwhile, Jose was watching Netflix in the office and throwing popcorn at you.
I wasn't quite watching Netflix, but we definitely had a couple of beers for sure. Scotch. Yeah, Scotch.
We would enjoy our time in the office. I mean, no one was there. It was just us. But it was just, you know, our time to kind of get out and still be somewhat productive, right?
Yeah, I hear you. And you both are immigrants, right? So, and I know Jose told a little bit of his passion for, you know, providing home ownership and really pushing that. Dexter, what's your story?
My dad's, you know, was born and raised in Portugal. My mom in Costa Rica, and they both met in London. Then they moved to New York and Miami. They came down, had me and my brother. You know, I was lucky enough for them. We moved to West Kendall when I was in elementary school, about 2nd grade. And then kind of they still own that house that we moved to, still there. Went to all the schools around here. And our office that we're in now is about like 8 minutes away from, you know, those schools and their house, and now my house that I own. And, you know, kind of going back a little bit forward on that, I got my degree in finance. I was in corporate accounting for a good amount of years. And then I got my real estate license. Not thinking anything of it, just like, hey, you know, just more knowledge, you know, for me to have maybe when I buy a home or whatever. You know, I was lucky enough, you know, 3 months into getting my real estate license, I had like 2 transactions under contract, and I had like 2 rentals. And then when I closed on them, I kind of just like asked myself, if I don't do it now, I'm never going to do it. Thankfully, I had the backing of my wife to kind of push me as well, like to push me off the cliff and like that leap of faith. So yeah, I quit my job. I went in full force. And like I mentioned before, I really became passionate about this. Like I really fell in love with it and really honed in. And whether, you know, I was at a couple of brokerages, but you know, I was at the office every day. I was learning to people around me. I was asking questions, and then full circle, now owning this company and, you know, kind of farming this area that we have here in West Kendall. You know, I'm selling homes on kind of, you know, when I was a little kid in middle school and high school, I would ride go-karts, you know, on these dirt roads, because my parents bought when it was just like farmland. We were like one of the few developments there, and we had a lot of dirt around us. So we had dirt bikes and go-karts, and I would just ride around this dirt with my friends. And then full circle, these piles of dirt are now subdivisions of houses, because there's barely any dirt over here anymore. And now I'm studying those homes. So whenever I go in these homes, whether it be to show the property to a buyer or for a listing appointment to sell these my clients' homes, it's crazy to really think about that. I'm standing in a house that was built, but you know, 15 years ago, I was, you know, doing donuts with my go-kart, you know, where this house is built. So for me, that was like full circle, and you know, it's definitely, it hits home.
One of the things you said is that earlier on that you train agents to be team leaders. I think it's something you said. So you have your own team, and then you also encourage other people to have teams under your group.
Yeah, I think that is what's missing in the industry. Period. Point blank. I mean, every broker wants to keep the agent in the hamster wheel, like just like, how do I keep, you know, making income right off of these agents? And like, that's just kind of the nature of it is like, you're a broker, you have agents, there's a commission, there's a structure, but we want to empower them to do more, right? And that personally for me, like, I never saw that anywhere. What naturally happens is that agents go from brokerage to brokerage to brokerage to brokerage, seeking the better opportunity, right? For the first time, I think for the first time ever, like for me, we're encouraging them to stay here and build and don't have to go somewhere else. You know, just how do we empower you here? Like, how do we like get you to the next level here where you don't have to go from brokerage to brokerage to brokerage? And we do that in several different ways, one of which is obviously commission structures. We have agent brackets, agent, senior agent, team leaders, etc. And then obviously having Side there as our partner is awesome, because then when they hit that mark, now they get assigned a business manager and they get their own brand, right?
And the same thing we went through, now they're going to go through to help them kind of find, you know. And one of the things that we implemented after a senior agent, we kind of, once our agents become a senior agent, we kind of opened up a mentorship program that they can be now mentors to other agents. The reason why we did that is, one, it opens up, you know, another way for them to make more money, but two, now that's really going to help them understand if, you know, teaching other agents is something that they're good at or they like to do, right? Because everybody wants a team until they have all these agents that they have to train and takes their time and going all of that, right? So that was a way of us kind of like having the agents without them knowing, understand like, well, maybe I just want to be a sole proprietor agent with maybe a showing agent and an admin and just like that, and build my team because I don't like training people, right? Or it might be an agent that now goes in this mentorship program and loves mentoring agents. And those are the people that I think that, you know, now will just go on and become a team leader, right? So it's kind of that helps them figure out what they really want to do and how they want to do it.
Right. I think Alicia Soakawa said it when we were talking to her, which is no one's born a leader, right? Being a leader is something that you learn through doing. You learn from taking classes and realizing what you're good at, your strengths and weaknesses. How do you help the people who want to have their own teams identify their skills that they're good at and they're not so good at and try and develop their leadership potential?
There's a saying that says, like, hire, what is it? Work your strengths, hire your weaknesses, right? So we're gonna like try to show them like what are their weaknesses so that they can go out and hire that. And then we'll help them hire it. You know, like if it's a showing assistant or a virtual assistant. And I mean, again, Side has helped with all of that, you know, because we have all these different platforms that we can lean on and say, hey, try, you know, these folks, you know, we've had some good rapport with them. So we definitely are just in the business of people and just helping them identify like, okay, this is what I'm not so good at, and that's okay. Now let's help you kind of with that part of the process.
Yeah, you talk about working with the people that you want to work with, both as agents that you want to work with, and I want to talk about some of your clients. Like, how do you decide when an agent isn't right? How do you decide when a client isn't right?
Well, to kind of answer on the reverse side is also just being ourself and our authentic self, and being okay with a client that doesn't want to work with us or a agent that doesn't want to work for us, being okay with that, because obviously there was a misconnect for a reason. But as long as if you know you're being your authentic self and they don't like you for being yourself, then you should be okay with that.
Yeah, it's easy to be yourself. It's hard to be someone else. And so business is hard, like life is hard. Like, why put another variation in that? Just be yourself, right? And if that takes you to where it takes you, you got to live with the results. Like it's you being yourself. I mean, I used to walk around with the suit and the this and the that. I'm like, this
in
is
Miami?
hard, man.
Ooh, that's hot.
Yeah, I'm like, this is hard, man. Like, I just want to be
And
myself.
talking suits, yeah. The first couple of years of business, I told myself every listing appointment, I'm gonna wear a suit because I guess that's gonna make me look like, I don't know. And probably didn't get majority of them. And now I go to listing appointments in a t-shirt and a polo. And you know,
You got to be yourself.
Secure.
But again, to your point, to answer your question, how do we determine that? I think that it just like kind of naturally happens. Like, there's either going to be we do the right thing, right? We follow up, we connect, we ask the right questions, etc. But there's at some point going to be a different like variation, and then like if they don't want to, that's okay, you know, and we're okay with that. We're totally okay with that.
I like it. I want to know, since we've talked a lot about being successful at things and trying new things, what are a couple of things that you've tried and either failed or learned from your experience that it didn't work and you pivoted?
I will say, like, we're always constantly failing. Okay, like you have to be okay with failing, because if you're failing, that means you're trying, right? And so if you're trying new things, that's what's gonna like propel you, right? So we're constantly, you know, beta testing things. You know, we just hired our first ISA, right? And it's working out great, you know, but there's going to be a point in time where it may not work out. And so we're big into like online leads, you know, but before that, we went down the FISBO route and the expired route and the this route, and we failed. And then we realized like this is our bread and butter. It's the online, you know, consumer that's clicking on and connecting. And how do we get that connection from the online world to the offline world? And then we got really good at that. And so, you know, I can't really pinpoint exactly what we've done that we failed at, but I can tell you for certain, in my years in real estate, I've done a ton of different things that have not worked. That has gotten me to this point now, you know, and kudos to that, because I, you know, if I didn't do all those things, I wouldn't be where I am today. So
I think that is a massive takeaway, which is try something new. Don't be afraid of trying it. And if it doesn't work for you, that's okay. Move on, try something else. I do want to find out, you said online leads are huge for you and you're getting a lot of traction online. What's working, or why do you think that is working for you? Because I know I've got a handful of other, you know, partners and friends that they don't do that. It's all about sphere of influence. So why is that working for you?
I think, over the past, I mean, how long, 4, 5, 6 years that we've been doing it, we've kind of just like Jose said, we failed, we've implemented things, we've structured scripts, structured the way we ask questions, structured the way we follow up, and really, kind of built this, how I call it, the secret sauce, that we know it works. Like, just follow what we say, follow what we do, and it's gonna work.
The way that I like to think of it, I don't know if you guys are big football fans, but like it's like the Bill Belichick like process, right? Like Bill Belichick, New England head coach, he can put anybody from anywhere and it still works and it still moves forward, right? And so like for us, it's about the systems and processes, and then the different things that we plug into it. It's like the agents or more of leads, but we got the system and the processes in place, so it doesn't matter. It's just a well-oiled machine. It'll keep going. And it took years and thousands of dollars, trying to figure that out. But for us, we are very much online consumers. I mean, you can date online, you can like order your groceries online. Like we always thought like there's got to be an easier way than door knocking. Like, come on, like we're in like 2023, right? Like you're telling me to get a lead, I got a door knock? Like there's no way. Like there's got to be an easier way. And we figured like, why not online? Like everyone else is doing everything online. Why can't you like meet an agent and buy a home through an online process?
And we implement door knocking to like our open houses and our listings. We do door knock and meet the neighbors, and we have a whole checklist of different things like when you get a listing and stuff like that. Sure. But definitely our main source is online lead.
I'm just curious, so you guys have to constantly be finding something. Where do you look for inspiration? Are there any podcasts you listen to? Are there any books that you're reading? Where do you find the energy or inspiration?
So, I mean, inspiration wise, like there's no better inspiration than getting home and seeing a 7-year-old and a 3-year-old going and saying, "Daddy," So inspiration definitely comes from there. But I will say that also, like, we have a sense of responsibility here. Like, we have 14 agents. Like, there's no better, like, for me personally, I'll let Dexter talk. Like, there's no better sense of inspiration to knowing that all these guys, everyone here is looking to us for the answers, and we can't let them down. Like, there's so many people that we cannot let down. But to your point, podcasts and stuff like that, I mean, we're big in the Why Local. They do a lot of things with Barry Jenkins and all that good stuff. There's a coach out there, John Cheplack. Listen to a lot of his stuff, obviously Tom Ferry stuff. There's like a big, like, different kind of things that we listen to constantly. But for me, I'm more of like just like real life stuff. Like, who am I directly impacting? That's where I get my inspiration from. Dexter, I don't know what you want to say.
Yeah, I mean, I'm the same way. I do listen to a couple podcasts, throw a couple in there, How I Built This. I love that podcast is great. There's a Jay Shetty podcast that, kind of is inspiring as well. And then, Elevation as well, Elevation Worship that kind of resets me on Sundays or Mondays when I listen to it. But other than that, exactly what Jose said. I mean, I've always been, since I was, young to now, I really haven't needed anything to motivate me. And I think it comes with, just me enjoying what I'm doing. So just for me, I wake up and I'm happy to come to work.
Yeah. And we'll put the podcasts in the show notes too, because I know I love to share, what I listen to. And I always get something, whether it's a book or a podcast to listen to that's inspirational from our guests. But I know we're running out of time. We could talk for hours. You guys are such high energy, and I love it.
It's the coffee, okay? It's the coffee, all right? It's a coffee.
But we, next time we're in Miami, we need to go out and hit the tennis ball and talk more shop for sure.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it.
Congratulations on the success this year and the Real Trends rankings. I'm blown away.
Thank you for all what you do, and for all of us. The support that we've gotten in this year has been overwhelming, and thank you for that.
Yeah, to you guys in the site community, we appreciate you guys.
Oh, we appreciate you too. It is, I think, the the theme or whatever you want to take away from it is, if you really truly love what you do and you find your passion in it, it's not about going to work, right? It's just about incorporating into your life.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Jose. Thank you, Dexter. I appreciate you guys.
Appreciate
Great to
you.
meet you guys.
Likewise.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
Well, Spencer, I learned a couple things. One, I need to learn about how to make this special coffee because I could use some extra caffeine in my life.
Yeah, I got to tell you, this stuff is insane. It tastes fantastic too, but yeah.
And number two is if you're creating a partnership or if you're deciding to go into business with somebody, whatever business it is, how very critical it is to have a discussion up front, put in writing how you are going to deal with any differences that may arise, because inevitably it's going to happen, and you should have a framework of how to deal with that.
Yeah, I love the fact that they have that coin provision. I think that's fantastic. Like we're going to disagree. There are only two of us. Let's just go with a coin. And then I think they said that after 3 months or something, they'll review it and see how it goes. I think is what they said. So, they really, I love when people write clauses like that. By the way, it makes me happy. But I think it's such a great way to go into the business.
Honestly, I want to go find a really cool coin and send it to them in a little box and say, here's your magical coin flipping thing.
That would be great. Well, maybe what do they use for the Super Bowl, right? Like to do that thing.
Let's do that. We'll do that,
Right.
and then we'll post in the show notes what we end up doing, sending it to them, because this is going to be a fun one.
The other thing too is they seem to have a shared goal, like a real sense of why they're doing what they're doing. So in things in the Latin community of home ownership and building wealth and stuff like that. But their own stories about that are just really, they're really putting their whole why behind what they're doing.
Absolutely. And they're coming at it from different angles, right? You've got Jose, who's got the tie to not having the stability of having his parents own a home when he was little, and then Dexter, the reverse, right? He grew up in the same community, went to the same schools, has the same network, but they're solving for the same problem, just looking at it from different angles. So yeah. I love that heartfelt piece of it for sure.
Well, I think that they're a good partnership.
They are. I like it. I think it'll do well.
It's like us partnering on this podcast.
I love it too. This is wonderful. Well, thank you, Spencer. I appreciate you. And,
Hillary, I appreciate you. Thank you for letting me do this with you.
Always. I look forward to seeing you on the next podcast.
Bye-bye.